Value arbitrage used to be really cheap CPMs and clicks, first purchase profitability. There's been a macro shift and the value arbitrage has switched. My fundamental bet, take a big swing at mass retail and you get the additional foot traffic combined with the digital. When you have a brick and a click strategy, that's where you can buy on a CAC to LTV basis. I think that's really the future.
Colin, we have a very important knower of ball who is coming in here, an OG of D2C. He is the CEO of BOOMN, a scaler to the moon of brands. But that's not all BOOMN does. There's actually this portfolio side where they own brands. And Colin McGuire, he's got some interesting things happening with Glimmr. The guy has already reached his goals for 2026. We're like 27 days in. 2026. So I think we need a little bit of that sugar. I mean, we need some mashugana, figure out what they got going on over there, what's in the water. Everybody, let's welcome Colin McGuire. Colin, get in here.
Yeah. What's up, guys?
Let's go.
Colin, you know, this, brother, we have to be. We have to be. And this meeting between you and I has been a long time coming. A long time
coming. It really
coming.
has been. Yeah, you're right.
For those who don't know, Will Bailey, one of the best friends of mine in the whole world, used to work for Colin. I believe he was entrepreneur in something, a really fancy title over there. And yeah. You don't know this, Colin, but actually Will and I, we had a secret plan for me to make it over to BOOMN at one point. We did.
Yeah?
We were working and scheming, but it didn't end up happening.
Well, that would have been cool.
Yeah,
it would have been cool.
Like the few salt of the earth people in our industry, like just one of the best guys you'll ever meet.
He is. And it was through him that I got to know of you and all you guys are doing. Man, if you would, please give us some background, because what I've also heard, Colin, is that you have brought some of the best and brightest in our game into actually knowing how to do Facebook ads in the first place. Just give us some background on BOOMN, man, what you guys are doing, and also just a little foretaste of what's going on with Glimmr, if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. So BOOMN, we started as a full service growth marketing agency specifically for the D2C space in like 2016. I know that in February we're turning 9 and we're going to be starting our 10th year. So we've had a lot of staying power in the space. Like, my background, before starting BOOMN was I was a really early advertiser on Meta. In late 2010, I was a part of something called like the Facebook Dark Post Beta program, or I forget exactly what it was called. But I've been advertising on Meta for an extremely long time, right? Just had like kind of first movers advantage. Was kind of like drop shipping before drop shipping was a thing, and like, print on demand before print on demand was even like really a thing.
Yes.
And so, used that to build and grow, BOOMN. And, basically, BOOMN's, produces about in between like $60 to $100 million a year in e-commerce revenue over the last like few years. I think I should probably say I think 89 million was our biggest like top line number. So we have a really interesting model. It's not your traditional like, growth marketing agency fee. So we actually take a percentage of net sales. So we throw our entire team at it and actually like, become long-term partners with the brand. So many of our clients have been around for many years. And so, because we built the team the way that we did, we actually also on the side built basically our own brand portfolio. So we took the capital, and the profit that we were creating in the agency, started acquiring and starting our own brands. Glimmr is one of those brands. It's my big focus now. But yeah, we basically, used it to build an actual, D2C brand portfolio. And yeah, Glimmr is kind of the golden child of that right now. So, the really short story on Glimmr is that, we found a lot of success in 2024, became one of the top 10 TikTok shops in the category, top 5, at one point in time, kind of used our D2C prowess to, grow to basically, just shy of $5 million in 24. And then in 25 last year, we got a pilot with Target, absolutely murdered the pilot. And now we're, what I'm being told is Target's like fastest expanding salon care brand. So We'll be nationwide with them this year. They're taking a big bet on us. We're going from 3 to 7 SKUs and going nearly nationwide with them. And we've got a lot of other retailers, a lot of other retail interest and kind of things that we're working on with other retailers, once our Target exclusivity ends. But yeah, that's kind of the nutshell of like, who I am and, how BOOMN and Glimmr are linked, I guess.
That's so sick.
Yeah, it's sick.
That's wild.
Yeah, it is. Go ahead,
Chris, you mind if I jump in here?
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
It's nice to meet
also
you.
great to meet another Colin in e-commerce. Always amazing. Just a question for you for Glimmr, for how you're thinking about this. I know you mentioned a lot of retail expansion going into Target. Are you thinking specific stuff around the e-commerce world as well? Or are you guys primarily focused, hey, we really want to focus on retail in 2026. That's going to be the core. That's going to be the focus. We're going to kind of let the e-commerce side kind of just chug along, but not really make it the main thing.
Yeah, that's actually a big part of, what I told you guys I wanted to talk, is that I really think that the arbitrage game, particularly of Meta, but I think it's broader of all, digital advertising platforms, whether it be a Google, Meta, TikTok, whatever. I think the value arbitrage used to be buy really cheap CPMs and clicks, can purchase, AKA like first purchase profitability. And I've been, this isn't coming from someone who's, not been around for a very long time, so I think that there's been a macro shift and, the cost of CPMs, the cost of clicks, the competition in the auction, and the value arbitrage has switched from first purchase profitability into a longer game where the new value arbitrage is basically by buying ads on a CAC to LTV basis. And to answer your question in like a long-winded way is that, I think my fundamental bet, my big bet was that if we take a big swing at mass retail and you get the additional, foot traffic combined with the digital, side of things, when you have a brick and a click strategy, I think that's where you can buy on a CAC to LTV basis. And I think that's really the future, right? If you look at all the big brands winning today, Grunts has had a bunch of, headlines, IM8, Jordan, my homie, Jordan Menard, instant hydration, right? These are all brands that are acquiring customers at a planned loss because they have the infrastructure to extract lifetime value out of them or an offer, right? And so while a lot of brands, aren't really subscription optimized, like some product categories and some products inherently don't have good attributes. They just don't have, inherently good attributes for subscription. And so I think the big play is to move over to mass retail, right? And really try to extract the value from mass retail, by way of like spillover, right? From how good you're doing on D2C. And so does that answer your question?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was fantastic.
I think the trouble that I have seen, Colin, is that everybody wants what you got right now. They do. Everybody in D2C, they want a replenishable that's got that hot sexiness kind of e-com fire up underneath it that just naturally translates into retail, and then people gobble it up and buy it in droves. But those are not easy waters to win in. And my guess would be that there's several years of skill development behind you here, in addition to product development, that's allowing you to execute in a winsome way on this bricks and clicks strategy. Bars, by the way. Give us some insight. Give us some insight on that, because I think everyone would love to just say, hey man, I've got a subscription product. It's good enough. We're going to roll it into retail now and we'll clean up. But it's not so easy a translation.
Yeah. I mean, we launched with Target, right? Which I'm not a retail guy, so I'm just going to go off of, what I've been told and what my experience is. But I mean, getting your brand truly retail ready is a lot more of a lift than I think a lot of people think it is, right? Label compliance, product compliance, formula safety, if you have some sort of consumable going in or on the body, You know, all of the, you know, we launched an entire rebrand and you know, redesigned all of our products because it used to have, I guess you can't see it up there. It used to have white print on these pink bottles, and it was just not ideal for the shelf. So, you know, we had to like execute, you know, a lot to get on the shelf, you know, and then while you're having a pilot, you know, you'd be, you know, really silly to not invest in marketing, you know, and invest in support to make sure that that pilot goes well, because you've made this big investment to get there, you know, increasing your insurance, you know, overhauling your entire brand, building the retail infrastructure, you know, manufacturing and holding a shitload of inventory on your books, you know, to have stock, you know, for if it goes well, right? You got to make sure you have, you know, inventory in stock. It's typically a different SKU, right? Like our D2C SKUs and your, you know, mass retail SKUs are going to, you know, be packaged differently, right? Or D2C SKUs are shipped so they won't leak. You know, you can't have that, you know, the same sort of protection on the shelf in mass retail. And so it's a big lift to get there, right? And so, but, you know, it's not only is it difficult to even, you know, win the award to get on the shelf, right? But it's a big journey and it's a big challenge, you know, for a small team to get retail ready, get on the shelf successfully, execute a pilot, you know, strongly. And we ended the year last year with basically all of the awards in you know, going into 2026. Like, you know, they saw what we did. And, you know, they immediately made, you know, kind of like an institutional bet on us, you know, in our category. But yeah, I mean, it's very difficult, right? So, it's very different than D2C. Like I felt like a fish out of water. I was totally out of my element in D2C. Requires so many different new skills and experience to even, you know, get on the shelf. Like the terminology that they use in that space is totally different than what we use. And so like I'm Googling terms on meetings to try and figure out like what does that even mean? You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's unreal.
It's interesting to think about you having done this since 2010. Now here we are 16 years later. And you're the one who's Googling verbiage inside of the meeting instead of the other way around, which I'm sure that has happened so many times.
16 years. How am I not retired yet? I must not be very good at that.
Glimmer's going to be the one, Colin. Glimmer.
It is. That's the bet we're making. So that's the bet we're making.
Well, Chris knows this. I'm huge on partnerships. I'm huge on influencers and, you know, collaborations. Can you sprinkle any collaborations or partnerships you got going and cooking up for 2026? Any Sydney Sweeney's just possibly in the hanging in the wayside or something like that you can tell us? Obviously, there's stuff you can't tell us.
Yeah, so well, I guess the very first thing I'll say is like our Sydney Sweeney is a gal named Kate Davis. She's actually been a long time influencer and creator for us at Glimmr. We've done like multi-year deals with her. She's the one with like an authentic hair glow up story with our product. So we're going to continue with her. I'm a really big believer in like structuring these long-term creator influencer deals. Obviously I'm not, you know, in my target market. So like there's a little bit of disconnection with like, you know, the founder and the customer. And so, you know, the way that we compensate by that is like, you know, trying to do as many influencer creator deals as we can, where, you know, we don't have to have it be profitable on like, you know, the very first touch point, right? Not like the traditional influencer post, but like over time. And so I would like to execute a lot more, you know, multi-year deals with influencers and creators. There are some that, you know, we're having conversations with and or, you know, are pretty close to you know, where we want to be. But at the moment, I'm actually about to kick off a raise. We gotta raise some capital to kind of accelerate through this, you know, through this trajectory with you know, our retail partners. There's also a couple, you know, partners we're launching with in Canada and in Europe, you know, during our exclusivity with Target in the US that, you know, I'd prefer probably not talk about publicly now, just because, you know, I don't want to count the chickens before they hatch. But yeah, there's a lot of cool things. I mean, the partnerships I'm really excited about is continuing to do big, you know, more large like influencer, celebrity, creator deals again, and and potentially, you know, trying to do actual deals with some of these mass retail companies, like they have like accelerated priority brands. Like I'm not sure if you've seen any of the Target commercials lately. You know, there's Rise Coffee, there's David, the protein bars. Like I'm trying to do more like how do I get that level of access? Like that's really what I'm trying to pursue next.
Wow. Breaking news here on the
I love
show.
that. And that's raise. I also love that.
Love that. Now, Colin, as you step into this and you guys are seeing massive success, there are others that play in this space generally, and they're combating bigger boys perhaps, but you know, the Honest Company, they're completely shutting down D2C altogether. And I'm surprised by that. I don't know that translates to more profitability in retail. Just give me some of your perspective on that since you're playing here now.
Well, I think that kind of is another data point or like a node as to where the value arbitrage shift happened with Meta, right? Those companies like the Honest Company, they're not a D2C company, right? They're publicly traded. They're a big bloated company. They don't have scrappy, agile, you know, growth marketers in the company anymore. I would assume I think the value of D2C has been significantly diminished, right? Like direct to consumer used to stand for like cutting out the middleman, you know, passing on, you know, a better price to you. You know what I mean? Like that's generally changed now, right? Like almost all brands sell for cheaper in retail, you know, including Glimmr, right? We actually made way more profit, you know what I mean, from the wholesale channel than we did D2C.
Wow.
Why? Well, because the contribution margin and like your net margins are so diminished due to how expensive Meta, Google, TikTok, and the overall digital marketing, digital advertising stack costs, right? Like, you know, the hard costs of ads, right? And so I think that, you know, the Honest Company, you know, is like, hey, they're just deciding, hey, we're not good at this, right? The next era of what's required to compete in this category is not something we're up to investing in. And so they leave, you know what I mean? Like, you know, working with 500 to 1,000 creators a month on TikTok, that's fucking hard. Like strategizing ad creative, you know, for Meta and TikTok, that's fucking hard. You know what I mean? Like Andromeda and creative diversity, right? Like it's getting harder and harder and harder to compete as the category gets more saturated. And you know, like the kids that, you know, when I came up, right, when like, you know, me and the guys our age, we came up, like we ate the guys' lunch ahead of us. You know what I mean? The agencies and the brands, and, you know, there was a lot of disruption going on. And at the same time, the kids that are younger than us, you know what I mean? They're stepping up and eating our lunch in D2C. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot more of them. It's a lot more normal. Like when I got into this, it was like my parents like literally forced me to get a job. They were like, "What do you mean you're selling?" You know what I mean? Like, get a fucking job, you know? I got a job, you know what I'm saying? And then I was like, wait, like, why am I working a job? Like I was selling stuff on the internet just fine. You know what I mean? And now it's a whole industry, you know, people are asking me to speak about this stuff. And like before I used to lie, you know what I mean? Like I would just tell people like I was in real estate and shit, because like it was easier to say that than it was to like explain to people that like I sell shit on the internet. Like that was incomprehensible at the time. You know what I mean? So I think that it's just like, there's a bunch of disruption going on. I think that there's a big shift in value on all of these digital platforms, and, you know, brands like, you know, companies like the Honest Company have just decided, why play a game, you know, we know we're not good at, you know what I'm saying? And just focused on the higher margin channels, you know, which is wholesale right now. That's just what it seems to me. And there's always outliers, but most of the people I'm talking to are seeing the same thing.
Wow. Game has changed. Game has changed.
I really think it has. I mean, it's just evolved, you know?
Yeah.
I think we can all also relate to, what are we going to tell the relatives and extended family our job is, so that we don't have this weird conversation where it's like, what do you do? And you're like, I'm in e-commerce. They're like, what does that mean? And I'm like, okay, here we go again.
Yeah.
Let me carve out 30 minutes for this.
My wife's uncle just calls me the pop-up ads guy. And
there
so
we go.
That's fair. That's super
that's
fair.
kind of what I started telling him, like, I just do pop-up ads. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh,
Well,
I get that.
They all know that you've made it now. You're in Target. You say, just go to Target, find the pink bottle. That's me.
Yeah.
That's what I
End
do.
cap, top shelf. People walk by it all the time. That's actually the coolest, most rewarding part about the entire Target thing is, there's a bunch of friends and family who are now taking, you know, what I'm doing a lot more seriously, because they walk into their Target, place they go all the time, and they see our brand, end cap, main aisle, top shelf, and all of a sudden they're like, holy cow, like, this is real. Like, it becomes tangible. Like, no one really knows what we're doing, what all of us are doing, like messing around on our computers all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like it becomes like tangible, right? For like, I don't even think my mom tried our product until it was in Target. Like, I don't think she thought it was like real. You know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, it changes a lot when you get into, a big box store like that, for sure.
Well, since you mentioned Kate Davis's hair, I took a look and I know it's Glimmr's for real. I mean, she's got a head of hair. So I mean, I know it is the real deal. Colin, we know that you are a busy man and we really appreciate you joining us. But if you would, before we get you out here, man, would you take 30 to 60 seconds just to tell us, and if people want to work with BOOMN, where do they go? If they want to be the next Glimmr and they say, Colin, I want you to buy my business. I want you to get a piece of this. If they want to go that route, what do they do? And also, I would assume you're not going to be buying Sam Altman's $60 CPMs at $1 million per clip over the next few weeks. Is that fair?
I'll buy the CPMs wherever.
Wow.
Wherever they sell them. I mean, if it makes sense, like, I'll experiment with anything. Like, I alphaed and baited, Meta, Google, TikTok, AppLovin, AXA. I mean, like, I'll try anything. You know what I mean? I'll try anything once. I don't do any more investing, so I would not like to buy anyone else's brand. That was a really reckless stage and decision when we did it. Ultimately, it's going to work out. I don't regret it. It's how I ended up with Glimmr. But definitely no more investments. In order to work with BOOMN, yeah, I mean, head to BOOMN.com, reach out to me on Twitter, wherever. We'd love to chat with you. Yeah, and I don't even know if that, like, I'm not really soliciting investment, but I am raising around. If you happen to reach out.
Yes, breaking news.
Yeah, breaking news.
But Colin, we appreciate you joining the show, and we look forward to following Glimmr more. I'm going to get some for my wife.
Man, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'll send you guys shoot me your address. And
Okay, we'll do.
We'll do. Influencer.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Wow. That's crazy. You can see the shift. Like that, I think that's happening to a lot more folks too. Like, I think
that is, man,
a lot where his focus a lot has been Brez retail. How do we get endpoints? How do we make the endpoint amazing? And Colin just talked about that a ton, where like, target endpoint, let's make that in-person experience amazing. We get, better CPAs in person. Like,
well, it's funny you mentioned that. I had heard, and this rumor was not confirmed during our interview, but I had actually heard that Colin had mentored Mr. Shack on some ads before. That's the rumor. That's the rumor. I can neither confirm nor deny. Maybe we can follow up with Colin and or Shack later. But this is a great point. It's a great point, and it's something that we are hearing quite often. We've heard it now from Colin McGuire. I think we've heard it in other places from Jordan Menard. Jordan Has Wings. Obviously, Breeze and Shack, they are doing all that they can do to get inside of retail. You don't make your money anymore in D2C on just the first purchase, which we all want. We all want to be first purchase profitable. Sure. But it may be that you're playing inside of a harder category. And what you need to do is build that customer relationship in person, online, inside of the inbox, in every way and shape, such that they stick with you for a long time. And that CAC to LTV ratio just makes sense for the business. And if you can do it where others can't, because of skills, because of product, because of creators, all of the things stack them up, then you've got a real winner. But it's not 2010 anymore. It's 2026. And that was very relevant, sage wisdom from Mr. McGuire there.
Yeah, I also love how he's thinking about influencers in multi-year windows. Whereas, when we think about an influencer collaboration, it's like, all right, we're going to do a little launch together. We got the launch window. We got, we're going to sell out for the next, couple weeks, month maybe. But he's thinking about multi-year deals. And so these people are now kind of quote unquote synonymous with the brand. I love that. I really, really love that, because now you're getting basically the core group you get these really, really good core group of influencers that are also super bought in. I don't know how he structures the deals, but I assume they get maybe a decent piece of the back end. And it really brings them in and makes it a really incredible experience for everybody.
I love that as well, because we saw this play out at Bruce Bolt in the early days. You know, there are certain creators, influencers, whatever you want to call them. Let's say they're not A tier or S tier. Maybe they're not Sydney Sweeney right now, but they're on the rise. And if you live inside of your category, your niche, you keep your fingers on the pulse every day in every way, you know who that batch of creators are. You know, the world's a small place. And oftentimes there's a list of, you know, call it 20, 50, 100 creators that are really the main players inside of your category. And it could be that there are some on the come up, somewhere in that C tier or somewhere in that just B minus tier, who they're not everywhere and in every place yet, but they are on the come up. And if you can build that relationship with them now, that relationship can pay you major dividends years in the future when they are A tier and everybody wants to come for them and work for them and work with them. And you've already solidified that relationship in years gone by. I think that's incredibly smart. And I love that strategy.
Yeah, I have a war story from my when I used to work for an outdoor brand. I met this kid. We went to a surf expo. We were at an outdoor brand. We met this kid who was pretty young at the time. He was like 15 or 16. This young surfer guy. He had maybe like a couple, maybe like 10 or 20,000 on Instagram, kind of just starting to trickle up on TikTok. And, you know, he loved the brand, loved what we were doing. And I really made this huge pitch to my boss. And I was like, I think this kid is like, he's got that like kind of look for TikTok, and like, he's really cool. He's like one of the cool surfer guys. I think we should like really deeply consider this partnership with him and like really go crazy with him. And they're like, now we gotta spread it far out. We can't just focus on, you know, those 5 core guys. We gotta really spread it out to a ton of people. And I was like, all right, I totally get it. That's all good. And I think maybe like 6 or 9 months later, he blew up on TikTok. I'm talking like overnight, 3-5 million followers on TikTok because of his look. He's this like surfer kid look, super chill vibes, was really cool. And then TikTok blew up simultaneously at the time. And so it was just this wave of growth. And I think he has like 10, maybe 11 million followers now. And I'll always see it. And I'm like, I initially was with that kid before he was blowing up. And I was like, this kid's going to be something, you know?
It's crazy. Sometimes, you know,
sometimes you just feel it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There was a member inside of the Bruce Bolt team who he just knew. He just knew. He had his finger so on the pulse inside of baseball. He just knew who was going to pop off next. And he told me, you got to follow this guy, Robert Anthony Cruz. I was like, okay, Robert Anthony Cruz. He's like a baseball coach. He had a cup of coffee inside of pro baseball. Great story, great guy. And he was teaching baseball on the internet after his pro career kind of stopped and ended. And, you know, you could tell the guy was good on camera. He could talk and he was posting videos every day. Well, that Robert Anthony Cruz eventually became Coach Rack. And then a year later, Coach Rack became one of the main faces of the Savannah Bananas. And now, anytime you turn on ESPN, anytime you look on the Savannah Bananas TikTok, it's Coach Rack, Robert Anthony Cruz doing a backflip to catch a ball in the outfield. You know, now the guy is giant, man.
Yeah.
And you know, honestly, he got involved with Bruce Bolt very early because there was somebody inside the team who just knew, hey, this guy is somebody that we need to bet on.
Yeah.
So listen to those people who have a sense. You got to listen. You got to listen.
You got to do it.